Hello, friends. How's it going today? We're doing all right. Yes, good to be seen. Good to be with you on this Wednesday, in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens losing again. This time 6-3 in Nashville. Game was over more or less just past the midway point last night in the first period when Nashville skated off with a 3-0 lead. Cole Caulfield, the one bright spot, I suppose, in the 6-3 loss, scored his 22nd goal of the season, and the Montreal Canadiens wrap up their 7-game road trip with just a singular win and come back home losers of 6 in a row, losers of 9 of 10 overall. And the Tankathon battle, my friends, is officially on in full effect. So good to be with you, good to be seen. Of course, in the car with Star, a proud presentation of accentgroup.com. Check him out online, as I mentioned, accentgroup.com. Anything in relation to your transport services, trucking, freight, obviously warehousing, anything logistics, freight forwarding. Accent Group, accentgroup.com is a locally owned and operated company and a leader in the transportation space. You won't find better rates, better personnel, better professionals when it comes to logistics than our friends at accentgroup.com. Check them out online. All your transportation services met with the best of the best in the business. When you trust me, you can trust Accent and accentgroup.com. So let's get going with the Montreal Canadiens, who are back home on Thursday night when they take on the New York Rangers, who roll into town, winners of 2 in a row, 7 of their last 10. But I think it's quite clear, my friends, in the aftermath of the Canadiens getting pummeled in Nashville, that the honeymoon really, truly is now over. Martin St. Louis bag skating some of his guys in the aftermath of a 9-2 drubbing at the hands of the Washington Capitals. Goaltending is more or less non-existent. The defensive structure has completely kind of fallen apart outside of Jordan Harris, who looks good, Caden Gooley. The rigors of the National Hockey League schedule starting to impact him. And we talk about Joel Edmondson, of course, Chris Stevenson on NHL Trade Center, on Insider Trading on TSN, Chris Johnson, talking about the fact that the Montreal Canadiens might be in the process of shopping Joel Edmondson. I mean, no surprise, really, when we talk about the fact that this guy has won a Stanley Cup. He has been a very strong defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. But the issue here is who's going to pay up? Who is going to pay up for Joel Edmondson? Edmonton, first-round pick, plus is the latest rumor coming out of TSN and Insider Trading. When we look at the fact that Joel Edmondson, does he make the Edmonton Oilers? Is Joel Edmondson the type of blue liner that you look at and identify if you're an opposing general manager? And you look at this guy's track record, you look at his style of play, and it screams, it jumps out from the page, acquire me, pay whatever is necessary. You know, when I think about a team, let's say like Edmonton, for example, that might give up a prospect, might give up a late first-round pick, right? Because let's be honest here, nobody that's in the battle for the Canadiens for a lottery pick is looking at Joel Edmondson and willing to give up their first-round pick. No way in hell is that ever happening in no world, let alone ours. And so when you look at the Edmonton Oilers, when you look at teams that are expected and hope to go on deep playoff runs this season, is Joel Edmondson a win-now guy? Because if you're giving up a prospect of note, well, let's call it a blue-chip prospect, and maybe a first-round pick, that could be anywhere between 25 and 32, Joel, that type of maneuver is win now mode. And listen, let's call it, man. The Edmonton Oilers are not a Joel Edmondson away from winning a Stanley Cup. And I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening because it's too obvious. We know that the Edmonton Oilers are more or less a bit of a garbage fire when it comes to everybody else outside of the who's who, and Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I mean, you got Darnell Nurse there forever. What goaltending situation is going on? It's more than just the Joel Edmondson. So watching the World Junior Hockey Championships, obviously everybody and their sister knows how good Connor Bedard is, but first-round picks now, based on what you're seeing and who's producing at the World Juniors, the fact that everybody for the better part of a year has been telling you that this is a generational draft. We're going back to the Sidney Crosby draft here. Apparently, this is how good this draft is going to be. So again, who is going to pay up for Joel Edmondson, and who is going to give a first-round pick in order to get this guy over? I understand he has a Stanley Cup on his resume, and he's not the best defenseman on the Montreal Canadiens on a group of guys that has like 5 rookies. He is not the best defenseman on the Montreal Canadiens. So you better hope, if you're one of those that believes that, Montreal's going to get a third first-round pick because, they've got their own, they've got the Florida Panthers, and that Joel Edmondson can bring them another one, that's a tough one. That is no doubt a tough one. And look, we talk about the fact that this Canadiens team has allowed 49 goals over their last 10. Their last 3 games, the last 3 scorelines, 7-2, 9-2, 6-3. That, my friends, is an absolute shellacking. And as we spoke about yesterday, the fact that some veterans I've looked at the scoreboard and said, well, I'm not busting my ass for this game. This game is more or less out of reach, so we're done. Good to see that Martin St. Louis stood up and said, enough with this BS. Joel Armia was a healthy scratch. And so what happens there? Who gets kicked in the keister? How does that motivate the Montreal Canadiens when they're getting set to take on the New York Rangers tomorrow night? We will wait and see. So the one bright spot, as I mentioned last night, no doubt was Cole Caulfield's goal. What a beauty goal that was. He's got 22, on pace for a 47-goal season. And let me ask you this question, right? Like watching the Montreal Canadiens get beat up, go on long, lengthy losing streaks with no end in sight, I got to tell you, you know what makes losing digestible every night lately is watching Cole Caulfield. That's what makes this somewhat digestible. The fact that you are seeing, I am seeing, we are seeing something, if you're of a certain age, that we have never seen before. Like, I've been watching the Montreal Canadiens. You've been watching the Montreal Canadiens. We've been paying attention in this market to this team for a long time together. The face and the heartbeat and the soul and the identity of the Montreal Canadiens in my life has always been a goalie. Always. Always. And when I watch Cole Caulfield doing his thing out there, deking guys out, ripping one-timers, showing his versatility with vision, feisty little guy, and scores a goal like the one he scored last night, man, that's good. Check the boxes. Yeah, losing sucks, obviously. Getting blown out game after game sucks. But if you're looking for a silver lining, you're looking for a price of admission, if you're looking for a reason to watch, we're not even at the halfway point yet. And the honeymoon, my friends, is over. It's over, and that's okay. You got people questioning Martin St. Louis. You have people wondering about, hey, where's Kent Hughes? I want to hear from the general manager. Now we've arrived, my friends. The Montreal honeymoon is officially done. So now we're back to the brass tacks. It reminds me of the time when Marc Bergevin replaced Pierre Gauthier. And Marc Bergevin shows up, right? Like he replaced Pierre Gauthier, who was as fun as watching drywall being put up in a brand new house. That's how entertaining Pierre Gauthier was. His nickname was the Ghost. So you get the 180 of Pierre Gauthier and Marc Bergevin. Snazzy dresser, funny guy, young, muscular, handsome, checks all the boxes that gets everybody's tongues wagging, right? And fast forward 10 years later, Marc Bergevin gets what he ultimately deserves and gets put to the door, and they bring in Jeff Gordon, who brings in Ken Hughes, who brings in Martin St. Louis. And oh my God, what a breath of fresh air. And then the season starts, and the Montreal Canadiens are playing like what? Jake Allen, Sam Montembeault, giving the Canadiens top 5 elite level goaltending. Caden Gooley shutting down Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin left, right, and center. And Nick Suzuki's and Cole Caulfield. These guys are on pace for 50 goals and 100 points. And everything is going great. And everything is going great. And everybody loves the new vibe. And everybody loves the new atmosphere. It's great. And now the reality has sunk in. This is where we are. And again, as I said yesterday, I'm not an I told you so guy, but I am an I told you so guy today. We knew that the schedule, we knew the wall was coming. Go back and watch. I asked you how many times, when is the wall coming? When will the bottom fall out? We are here, and I'm here to tell you that the honeymoon is officially over. You have people wondering now, Jake Allen gone. Yesterday, I spent 10 minutes making a case for Josh Anderson to move. Right? And listen, if you missed our interview, Connor McKenna and yours truly on TSN 690 this morning, when TSN hockey insider Darren Dreger joined us and we asked him about trade speculation and Joel Edmondson and who's going to pay up, and obviously first round picks for this summer's NHL entry draft are at a premium, no doubt. That if someone is looking at Josh Anderson, man, oh man, you are going to pay a premium for this guy's services. And that is where I'm coming at you from. This is what I'm talking about. Jonathan Drouin. Jonathan Drouin. Who gives a bleep about Jonathan Drouin? What's this guy going to do? Absolutely nothing. He's got, 13 points, no goals, plays 12 minutes a night. And like, we're talking about a guy that is a veteran, long in the tooth, and we're hearing, oh, maybe he's still got offensive game left in his game. I don't see it. I don't see it. You know what? You know what is great? Freeing up the $5 million and change that Jonathan Drouin occupies on your salary cap. Wherever he goes, I don't care. Joel Armia, I don't care. Josh Anderson, this is where the money's at. This is where you're going to get a return. Who's going to take Brendan Gallagher's contract? This guy's body's being held together by duct tape. So where is the value? Is Jake Allen more valuable on the open market than Josh Anderson? I don't think so. I don't think so. And we only have a couple of untouchables that we're talking about here, so don't even come at me with moving Suzuki or Cole Caulfield or Katie Gooley or any of these blue chip prospects or players that the Montreal Canadiens have. Where is the value coming from? And so if the Montreal Canadiens want to load up, Ken Hughes has said on the record, he wants another first-round pick. How do we get there? I'm not as convinced as others seem to be that Joel Edmondson gets this team that pick. I believe wholeheartedly that Josh Anderson on the right side of 30 with a digestible contract with this big-bodied frame, this is someone you can roll the dice on. This is someone you can sell your fan base to that say, hey, listen, we just acquired this guy. We gave up a little bit of a bounty to get him from Montreal, and here's why. I think that's an easier sell job than anybody else. So this is where we're at now. I want to get into PK Subban in a second, but let's talk about Juraj Slafkovsky for a moment, if we can. 11 minutes and change yesterday, 10 minutes at even strength. This is the concerning part for me. The fact that Juraj Slafkovsky has no shots on goal and no points, 0, 0, 0 in his last 5 games. His last goal came on December the 1st. Does Juraj Slafkovsky look engaged? Does he look a little bit more involved to you? I'm going to tell you something. I stand by my opinion weeks ago when I said it is not the right move to send him to the World Juniors. I maintain that today. And yes, it's fair to say Nick Suzuki has hit a wall, you guys. Kirby Dach look a little better. He's slowed down. The one guy that hasn't slowed down is Cole Caulfield. You have veterans that are MIA, APB, All Points Bulletin. Where is Joel Armia? Where is Mike Hoffman? Where is Evgeny Dadonov, right? So, there's multiple layers to guys that have hit walls or, quite frankly, have stopped caring. The care meter has moved from, more or less half a tank to closer to empty at this point. I get it. So, when it comes to Juraj Slafkovsky, you know what I saw yesterday? I saw a moment when Juraj Slafkovsky was with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. This guy's putting his body on. He's creating turnovers and creating chances for the Montreal Canadiens to at least be somewhat threatening in the offensive zone. So here's what I have to say about Juraj Slafkovsky. Don't give up on him yet. Not yet. And I understand there's stagnation. I understand that this team is getting smoked. And the losing is definitely a real thing. They've lost 6 in a row, 9 of their last 10. I want to see him fight. I want to see Martin St. Louis give this guy a chance to fight in January. And it doesn't mean that he plays the entirety of the month, but let's see. Call him out. Call him out. Call everybody that isn't pulling their weight, call him out. And maybe it's already been done. There already was a bag skate. So it takes us back to our original point. The honeymoon, full stop, is over. So let's kick some ass, let's take some names, and let's give these guys a chance to fight. And there is an argument, a very valid one. I understand that. We talked about it this morning. I think Brian Wild in his piece, The Call of the Wild after the game, touched on it when he talked about Juraj Slafkovsky on the power play in Laval, gobbling up minutes, first line assignments, so on and so forth. I am just a believer in make sure Juraj Slafkovsky is present. And by that, I mean, here's where your numbers are, son. No shots on goal, no points, nothing. Why? What is going on? Here's what we want you to do. Here's how we simplify your game. This is how we make it happen. Now go out there and do it. What's wrong with seeing if there's something there? Give guys a chance to fight out of slumps before you say, you know what? Let's call it. 37, 38 games in, it's over. Out to Laval you go, and good luck with the Rocket and Jean-Francois Houle and everybody else. So I'm not there for those that are. We can have this discussion, but I believe in 2 things. I believe in giving people chances to fight out of slumps, and I believe in the sink or swim mentality. I'm a big believer in the bell is ringing. This time it counts. There is no mulligan. There is no do-over. Now. Do it now. Can you? can you? That's what I love about athletes. That's what I love about athletes that we all watch and fawn over, and we watch them throw pinpoint passes, timely goals, smart, high IQ players in crunch moments. That's what I admire about pro athletes. And that's where I come from when I say give a guy a chance to fight out of this, make him present, make him realize that shit is sideways for a minute here. Now let's fight out of this together. There's something about that for me. Like, I want to build team togetherness. I want to build an identity. I want guys to come out of the fire together and say, shit, we did this. And I need a little bit more of a sample size before maybe I jump the number and I join everybody else that says, you know what, enough with Slafkovsky. He's not doing anything here. This guy needs to go to Laval and make it happen. The Canadiens are back in action tomorrow when they take on the New York Rangers at the Bell Center at 7 o'clock. Thank heavens. It's a 7 o'clock game. These 8 o'clock, 8:15 puck drops, man, are an absolute killer for me. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but PK Subban's making the rounds on Ryan Clark's podcast, on the Pivot podcast, where he talks about, and look, I'll be honest, if this was a high production podcast of mine here in the car with Star, proud presentation as always by AxonGroup.com and K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur, that I would have the clip. I would have this clip to play for you. I would play the PK Subban soundbite from the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark when he talks about why shit went sideways in Montreal. And I got to tell you, man, it almost made my blood boil, if I'm being totally frank, totally honest with y'all, when PK Subban came out and said that he's a guy who grew up in Toronto as a diehard Montreal Canadiens fan. He wanted to be a Montreal Canadian for the entirety of his career. And that if they had looked at PK Subban and identified PK Subban and didn't play hardball with this guy, he would have signed for 7 years. He would have signed for $7 million a year, and he would still be here today. And who knows? I mean, obviously, he's a retired player. He's an NHL analyst now, so he's not active in the game as a player anymore. I don't know. I don't know if things would have been better for PK Subban as a player over his career, as opposed to, you know, going back and forth and just being moved all the time. But it really drove me up the wall when I heard PK Subban talk about the fact that he told everybody, Bergevin, everybody that mattered in Montreal's front office, that he wanted to be a Canadian and wanted to be here, and this was his team. And what'd they do, man? What'd they do? They put this guy in check. That's what they did. They put this guy in check. They thought PK Subban was too big for his britches. They thought that PK Subban was bigger and more important than the Montreal Canadiens organization. And in the world of professional hockey, where team togetherness, team tightness matters a hell of a lot, they looked at PK Subban and said, well, this guy goes against the grain. He's more of a me than an us guy. Therefore, we have no room for this guy. I have no tolerance for that. I have no tolerance for the fact that, the Canadiens have been swimming in mediocre water for the better part of 20 years. Their last Stanley Cup was in 1993. You know, I grew up listening to my parents, listening to my grandparents talking about the annual Rite of Spring, a Stanley Cup parade down St. Catherine Street. Why did the Montreal Canadiens get away from that? Where did they look at this and say, you know what? We are the Montreal Canadiens, holier than now. No team is no team is more important to the league than us. We are the cherished Montreal Canadiens, right? The Stanley Cup banners, the pregame ceremonies, the class, the dignity, the ambassadors, everybody, right? That's the Montreal Canadiens. And they looked at a player that had a bold, brash personality and said, not for us, not for us. And that's why the Montreal Canadiens are where they are. And I think they're getting out of it. I think they have the right personnel. I think they have the right people leading their media relations. I think they have the right people in the front office. I like the ownership. I think ownership is very stable. And I do believe that they put all the trust in who they've hired to make the on-ice decisions. But I got to tell you, when it came to the Bergevin and how he runs or how he ran the Montreal Canadiens, you're paying, the tax man is coming due and he's collecting, and now we're paying the bill for it. And here's where you are, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get out of this little funk that they've been in with saddled contracts, with aging players that are going to be around for a long time because it's very difficult to move them. So I saw that yesterday, and it was just reminded me again. I don't want to get into the whole, Weber versus PK. Shea Weber was a very good member of the Montreal Canadiens, and brought a lot of credibility and brought a lot of value that I don't know you can always measure with what Shea Weber did on the ice for the Montreal Canadiens, right? So I'm not saying it was a bum trade. I just wish that the Montreal Canadiens at that time were a little bit more forward-thinking, understanding what the future of the NHL was probably going to look like, understanding the player that they had, who he might turn into, what he's done for the team, and find a way to make it work. But the reality is it didn't, and PK Subban out here telling his side of the story, and seems like he still has some regrets about how it all went down during his time with the Montreal Canadiens. So the Habs, losers of 6 in a row, back in action at home tomorrow against the New York Rangers. The comments coming in fast and furious. Costa Mamas, what up? Costa Ticani keep saying a trade Anderson for a pick, then get Domi, who's better than Anderson, more points and brings it every night. Thank you, Costa. Listen, I don't know if Max Domi wants to come back to Montreal. I don't think, I don't think his time here, that he looks back on it when he reflects on his short tenure as a Montreal Canadian. He's like, damn, I wish I could get back there. I don't see it. I want to see the day that players look at Martin St. Louis and say, I want to be coached by this guy. I want to be coached for this guy. Costa, I love the podcast. Thank you, buddy. Trade Drouin to Chicago for a high pick. They might think Bedard and Drouin would be. Bedard? Huh? What are you talking about, Costa? What are you talking about? Bedard, everybody knows he's coming to the Canadiens. They're never going to win another game. Have you been reading the news, Costa? The Canadiens are not going to win another game the rest of the season. This is going to be Connor Bedard, number 16. Oh, what number is Connor Bedard? It's 61. Would he wear 61? I don't know. Montreal, the city. Wow, cool. Hey, Sean, how you doing? Do you really care? Do you really care? Do you really want me to get into it? No, I'm kidding. No. Thanks for watching as always. I prefer the team to lose because the lack of experience. Then for the lack of effort, that's why I want them to get rid of all the vets. Get them out of here. I don't want to see them play anymore. I like that one. I like that one. I don't want to see him play anymore. Just give the keys to the franchise to all the green rookies, right? Like there is value. There is value, and it was funny, right? We were talking about this on the TSN 690 morning show. Connor McKenna and yours truly today, 6 to 10 on TSN 690. That is there value, right, to having guys that have been in the NHL for a long time, and they could show young guys, young bucks how it's done. I believe there is a lot of value in that. There's no value in guys who wave the white flag and don't want to be here anymore. So get those guys out of here. Jeff, enjoying the podcast. Keep them coming. You got it, brother. Thank you very much. And what's up? Jantan, people need to stop thinking you're bigger than the team. And rather, how do we get the team bigger with you in it? Man, I like that comment. That's a sharp comment. I like that one. And that's where it comes. Like, I'm curious about, like, does Nick Suzuki call guys out? Like, do you look at Nick Suzuki and your best educated guess? Does Nick Suzuki look at a player, let's say Yoel Armia, right? Before he gets the healthy scratch, Yoel Armia. And he's dogging it, gliding, not moving his feet. Do you think Nick Suzuki gets in this guy's kitchen, gets in his face, like in the second period in the intermission? I wonder about that. Like, I don't know. Like, I like to guess and I like to read into things. But I haven't really read, heard whispers, anything about the type of captain Nick Suzuki is, whether he takes guys under his wing or gets in their kitchen, gets in their grill, whatever the case may be. So yeah, something to watch out for. I think this is when we pay closer attention. You know, I always say that I think it's easier to lead when things are going well, everything's going according to plan. By design, so on and so forth. I think it's easy for that. Everybody gets along, right? Like a team that's on a 14-game losing streak. You don't hear any gossip about a team that's on a 14-game winning streak. You hear you hear the gossip when they lose 6 in a row, 9 of their last 10. This guy sucks. That guy's mailing it in. What's the coach doing? Doesn't get the lineup, so on and so forth, right? That's where you hear the drama. That's where you hear the gossip and the allegations and the finger pointing and all that stuff. You don't hear that when they're winning. So this is kind of when I pay attention during tough times, during challenging times. I don't want to speak in a cliche, but who's going to take the bull by the horns and take charge and put the Canadiens, for a moment anyway, back on track, even though I know there are a lot of tankathon guys out there. But yeah, these guys want to win every night, right? So that's what I look for. I want to see who cares. You need reasons to watch all the time for a team that's not going to make the playoffs. I watch for Cole Caulfield. I watch for Caden Gooley. I watch for Suzuki and Doc, and I watch to see who cares. Really, I do. Who cares tonight, and who cares regularly. Everybody's allowed to have bad days. Everybody's allowed to have bad days and make mistakes. Don't make the same mistake multiple times. You get to make one mistake one time, and don't do it again. But I want to see who's consistently caring, who's consistently trying. And who wants to be here? This is what I look for when it comes to a team struggling and a team trying to find its footing again. And that's where we are with the Montreal Canadiens back in action, as I mentioned already. Tomorrow against the New York Rangers. Tonight, though, it's World Junior Hockey Championship semi-final Wednesday. I was getting lost there for a second because I went back to work Tuesday. Today was my second day back. Today's Wednesday. 4-day work week for yours truly, and the grind is back on in full effect. So it's Canada-USA at 6:30 today. Canada slightly favored. We're all watching for the Connor Bedard show. What is this young boy from North Vancouver going to do tonight, man? I can't wait how he follows up that incredible overtime goal against Slovakia in the quarterfinals that punched Canada's ticket to the semis tonight at 6:30. You'll watch it on TSN. Thank you so much for watching. As always, Jantan, thank you. Kudos on saying my name correctly. Thank you. No. Yeah, I don't like butchering first names. So, as someone whose first name is Sean, spelled S-H-A-U-N, and people that have known me for 20 years text me, hey, Sean, S-H-A-W-N, it really does kind of irritate me a little bit. And to me, it's a sign of respect, a sign of attention to detail, that you kind of care what you're doing, right? So that's it. That's where we are. So thank you for watching, everybody. Don't forget, you can support me, as always, by supporting my sponsors, our title sponsor, the wonderful people at axongroup.com, your leader in transportation, warehousing, and logistics, and freight forwarding. All the information you could possibly require is available online at axongroup.com. Tell them In the Car with Star sent you. And don't forget, we fuel up, you fuel up, I fuel up only at K-Stop Gas Bar in Depiner, Highway 138 in Ganawage. It's right over the Mercier Bridge. Premium fuel at discount prices, fresh and hot prepared meals daily at K-Stop Gas Bar in Depiner, where the menu changes every single day. And they have wonderful people there to fuel your tank up, so you can let them do that. You go inside, get your snacks, get your bevies, get your meal, boom, back in the car, gassed up, on the road. See you tomorrow. That's where we are. Okay, enjoy the game. Enjoy Canada, USA tonight, and we'll reconvene on Friday in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens and New York Rangers getting at it tomorrow at the Bell Center. In the Car with Star, my friends. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much for commenting. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on Friday.